Hello everyone, nature lovers, rain enthusiasts, and weather enthusiasts. I'm Mr. Tien, and welcome back to our special weather report. Today, I'm excited because we're going to dive into a hot topic. Will Europe see another big storm in the near future? In other words, we'll be observing the new potential storm system in the Atlantic, tracking its movements, interactions, and possible impacts, not only on the US and Canada, but also on our Western European land. At the same time, we'll also review the short-term forecast, seeing which areas will be rainy, which areas will be dry, because even when the big storm hasn't arrived, the daily weather is always changing and there are many things to watch out for. So, without further ado, let's start with a look at the Atlantic Ocean, which could be the source of the winds and rains that will be sent to Europe in the coming days. Before we get into the implications for Europe, it's important to understand what's going on in the Atlantic, as this is where tropical storms are born and move, sometimes combining, transforming, and then moving into the North Atlantic before landing in Europe. There are two areas of uncertainty we need to keep an eye on right now, the most prominent of which is Tropical Storm Jerry. Jerry is currently on the eastern coast of the US-Canada, but don't let its current location overshadow its future importance. While it may lose its tropical characteristics, heat, moisture, as it moves, there's still a chance that its remnant will continue to be active when it combines with other systems in the North Atlantic. We have seen similar cases, Umberto, Alga. As they age or weaken, they are pulled into larger weather systems and eventually merge into a large low-pressure structure, which then affects Europe in different ways. Jerry is likely to follow the same path. According to current meteorological models, Jerry may roll towards the North Atlantic. This creates an effect. Its remnants may be caught up in the frontal air currents, cold and warm air masses intersect, and merge into the larger system, then flip towards Western Europe. It is possible that in the next 8 to 10 days, a significant system will form near Western Europe, and Jerry or what is left of it may be a participant. Some models, like the GFS, have shown the possibility of a widespread low from Ireland down, touching France, Portugal, or even Spain. However, there are still many unknowns. We don't know for sure how the new name will form, or how strong it will be, or where it will sweep. But one thing is certain, we have to keep a close eye on its movements. In addition to Jerry, there is another coastal system that is forming or lurking off the northeast coast of the United States. This system could become a cyclone, a widespread low. While it's unclear at this point whether it will have enough energy to become a tropical storm, the possibility of it merging, or interacting, with the remnants of Jerry is real. When these two systems are close in space and time, there is a possibility of a merger or fusion, creating a new, more complex atmospheric structure that could ultimately affect Western Europe. When you look at the forecast model, you will see two vortices simulated, one larger, one smaller. They move, bend, rotate, get lost in each other. It is this shifting direction that excites us, because it opens up unexpected scenarios. For example, one model shows Jerry's remnants being sucked into a front, cold, warm air crossover. From there, it is pulled towards Western Europe. It may be near the Azores, then from the Azores it heads north or northwest, sweeping across Portugal, Spain, France, Ireland. Don't forget, the Bermuda high pressure, also plays a steering role. If this ridge is not too dominant, or if it is pushed back, it could open the door for tropical systems from the Atlantic to move towards Europe instead of being pushed back out into the Atlantic. In short, the Atlantic is not quiet right now. It is moving two potential systems, and the possibility of them meeting, merging, creating a potentially powerful, moving storm is something we cannot ignore. If Jerry's remnants or the new system strengthen, potentially re-tropicalizing or at least deepening, before it approaches Europe, we could see a resurgence of tropical storms near the Azores or the western coast of Portugal, Spain. The Azores could then be directly affected, strong winds, possibly 80 to 110 kilometers per hour or more. Large waves, heavy rain. The Portuguese coast, southern Galicia, Spain, could also be affected as the system could tilt southward, according to some models. If it tilts northward, according to some European modelers, then Ireland, the UK could see strong winds and rain. From there, this lower part of it could move further into Scandinavia or the Norwegian coast. Some model maps, GFS, ECMWF, show a widespread low pressure emerging from the Ireland-Portugal region and sweeping across southern Europe. Some places place the map on Friday next week to illustrate. Two large vortices sweep across the Azores, move towards Western Europe, encroaching on Portugal and Spain. In addition, if the remnants are caught in a cold air mass or front, the western edge of the front could suck this system north or northeast, affecting France, the UK, northwestern Portugal. In a less dramatic scenario, meaning Jerry weakens significantly, we still run the risk of its remnants being pulled into a larger low-pressure structure. In that case, its moisture will be distributed more widely, creating uneven rain and wind patterns. Areas affected by gusts, areas with only light rain, areas with no impact at all. For example, from Ireland, the low could extend its wind wing to the west-southwest of France, then into southern Portugal. This would bring strong winds along the coast, with heavy rain in clusters. Not all of Portugal or Spain would be hit, but the western and southern coastal provinces are at risk. If the northwest wing develops, the UK-Ireland region could see strong northwest winds and heavy rain, especially if the system moves closer or turns north. Looking further north, Norway and Scandinavia, if the remnant continues north, could see strong coastal winds and rain. Coastal areas of Norway are a particular focus. There could also be no big storm in the true sense. Current models still allow for Jerry's remnant to sink or be scattered unevenly, and not have enough energy to make a large impact when it enters Europe. In this case, we still have scattered rain, local strong winds, especially in coastal areas of Western Europe, southern Spain, Portugal, France. But don't be complacent. The Atlantic hurricane season lasts until the end of November. The remaining tropical systems can suddenly intensify or change their tracks. It is possible that in the next few days, a new system, with a new name, will form and cross the Atlantic, becoming a true European storm. Even if the big storm has not yet made landfall. There is always something to observe every day: showers, wind, waves, sporadic low pressure. Here is a short-term view, usually about the next 3 to 7 days, for you and your viewers to follow. Some coastal areas of Spain, e.g. Galicia, Andalusia, southern Portugal, showers, thunderstorms are possible, especially if the influence of the low wing of the potential system moves south. In Barcelona, Valencia, scattered rain is possible, especially in the evening or at night, when warm, humid air meets cold air. Some 3-day rainfall models show that some areas may reach around 80 to 100 millimeters if the storms are repeated. If the rain persists, there is a risk of localized flooding in low-lying areas. Along small rivers, pay attention to the southern provinces of the Iberian Peninsula near the sea. Strong coastal winds, high waves are possible. On the dry side, areas deep in mainland Spain, Inland Portugal may remain drier than the coastal areas, less directly affected. This is almost the first gateway if the potential system approaches Europe. Strong winds, possibly 80 to 110 kilometers per hour or more, and heavy rain are possible. High waves, rough seas, are a certainty as the system strengthens. This is also where we will look first to assess whether the storm has enough strength to continue onto the mainland. If the system moves further north, the western coast of France, Brittany, Normandy, may experience strong winds and rain, especially in coastal areas. Great Britain, Ireland. If the low pressure approaches, there will be strong winds and showers. Some parts of northern England and Scotland may see relatively steady rain. But if the system moves into the northwest, Wales and Northern Ireland may also be affected. Coastal Norway and parts of the Scandinavian coast, if the remnants continue north, will see rain and strong winds. Places near the sea should be especially careful. Inland, in Italy, Austria, Germany, Poland, for example, the weather is likely to remain stable. With little direct impact, no strong low pressure penetrating deep. However, there may be light showers, occasional thunderstorms, especially in mountainous or hilly areas. Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, scattered heavy rains are possible, especially if dynamic weather systems push from the west or north. Some places will receive up to 75 to 100 millimeters of rain if conditions are favorable. Humid winds, convection, the area is at risk of localized small floods. Turkey, scattered showers, not severe. But coastal areas may see slightly heavier rain, especially if the low pressure from the west reaches the Pan-Asian landmass. Southern Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, if the remnants move north, may receive moderate rain. In that case, cold air from the Arctic may push rain south. Denmark, Netherlands, Belgium, light rains, light winds are possible, especially if the system spreads. But the possibility of strong winds is low if the system does not strengthen. Also worth noting, Germany, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland, generally less affected, unless the system is very strong and deep. To understand whether this storm will really hit Europe hard, we need to look at the environmental factors. The meteorological interactions, the things that determine its fate. The Bermuda High is currently dominant. It can push or block tropical systems moving east or west. If the high is strong and extends northeast, it can prevent Jerry, or the new system, from getting close to Europe. If the high weakens or slides west, the eastern North Atlantic door can open, allowing systems to move into the Azores, Europe. There is also the scenario of a tilted high, leaving space for air currents from the northwest to move in, sucking in stronger systems. If the high pressure doesn't seal the North Atlantic, we could be hit by tropical remnants. How Jerry remnants are caught up in a front, a cold, warm air mass crossing, is crucial. If they are caught up in a strong front, they can intensify, if they are ripe, or they can stretch out and merge into a larger low-pressure structure. If a larger system forms, with widespread vortices, the area of influence can be very large, not just coastal but deep inland. The degree to which the vortices interact, how they wrap around each other, how strong or weak, will greatly influence whether the system continues to strengthen or weaken. If the system moves over warm water, it can recharge. But if it crosses into cooler water, or encounters a cold current, it is likely to weaken. Humidity, low-level humidity, and high-level humidity, if the layers retain moisture. Supporting convection, the storm can sustain or intensify. Conversely, if dry air penetrates, it will hinder it. If the air layer is stable, little temperature difference with altitude. Convection is difficult to form strongly. This reduces the chance of the storm intensifying. If the air layer is unstable, temperature decreases rapidly with altitude. Air rises easily. Conditions for thunderstorms, rain, the system is more likely to maintain strength. If you live in coastal Western Europe, the coast of Portugal, Spain, France, or even the UK, Scandinavia, there are a few signs you should watch closely to decide whether to red alert and prepare for the storm. If multiple models, GFS, ECMWF, European model, Canadian model, show a similar track, heading toward your area, that is a more reliable sign. Winds at sea increasing. If the Azores or the mid-Atlantic are reporting strong winds. A widespread low pressure, this could be the gateway of the storm before it hits the continent. Low central pressure, if the map shows it. If the center of the low pressure drops to low levels, less than 1005 hectopascals or more, as it approaches Europe, and winds around the low are strong, this is a sign of a strong storm. Accumulation of heavy rain in the long-term pattern. If the forecast 24 hours, 48H, 72H rainfall totals for your area exceed 50 to 100 millimeters or more, localized flooding is a concern. When the National Meteorological Agency in your country issues a hurricane warning, this is the most serious signal. To understand why we are placing such high hopes on Europe, let's look at the overall picture of this year's hurricane season. This year, we have seen a number of strong tropical storms, Umberto, Alda, Gabrielle, Amy, many of which not only surfed across the Atlantic, but also had some impact on the North Atlantic, even sweeping across the Azores. In recent years, sometimes late in the season, October to November, tropical storm remnants can travel into Europe, creating unusual winds and rain, strong low pressure. The special thing, this year the high-low pressure pattern may lock in a direction that allows these hurricane wings to approach Europe more easily. That means the storm entry environment may be more favorable than before. So, in addition to watching Jerry, we can't miss any other tropical remnants. The next one could be Ciarán, that, if they form and head east, could very well visit Europe in a lesser but still noticeable way. Looking ahead, hurricane season is still on, possibly into late November. Even as Europe moves deeper into autumn, there could still be old-fashioned roaming storms, strong aviation depressions, cross-continental depressions that move across the North Atlantic and impact northern Europe. I'll continue to keep a close eye on them and keep you posted on the channel, so you're never taken by surprise. So we've come full circle, from the Atlantic, following potential storm systems, to forecasting impacts to Europe, and back to the short-term forecasts for different regions. Summary: Europe is likely to be hit by a moving storm system in the coming days. Although it is unlikely to be the tropical storm that is imagined. But the remnants, the factors from Jerry or a completely new system could bring heavy rain, strong winds, rough seas, especially along the coasts of Western Europe, the Azores, France, the UK, Norway. Looking ahead, here's what we'll be watching for: Jerry and its remnants, track, strength. Merging with other fronts or low-pressure systems, the movement, weakening or strengthening of other potential coastal systems, the extent of the impact on the Azores shelf as the first gateway. High-low pressure models, especially Bermuda High, to see if the path is blocked or open rain totals. Strong winds, central pressure maps, country-specific warnings. If your area may be affected. Thank you, viewers, supporters, for following along with me on this newsletter. I truly appreciate your subscriptions, following, and encouragement so I can continue to update important and interesting weather information like this. Wishing you and your family a safe and healthy day ahead, and hoping that if there is rain or wind, we will make it through safely. See you in the next newsletter, where I'll update you with more in-depth analysis as new data emerges. Hello and see you again.